threat. If you're like me, you'll find that Mechabellum is at its best when enjoyed with friends. Use coordination and communication in this mode of cooperation to bring victory to your team. I'm Pastor Drewski, and good luck out there.
Welcome everyone once again to the Mechabellum showdown here live at Dreamhack Summer in Jönköping, Sweden. I'm Toby, I'm joined by Amaroq 81, and if you thought that video had a lot of info to be broken down, I did too, but the great thing is I have the guy right over here that knows everything there is to know about the game. So welcome to you, Amaroq. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. I do a European and American tournament broadcasts each weekend. So it's kind of my thing is to cast tournaments like this. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And I am looking forward to breaking it down for a new audience.
It's going to be a great time for sure. Now, of course, we just had the intro of all the players. They gave it a little bit. I feel like they were very subtle in their hints and didn't want to reveal too much strategy. But I mean, you know both Surrey and Rooster PB from their competitive experience in the game of a zone. Where would you say their competences lie in terms of now having to try and teach and coach these two different teams too?
Oh, that's a good question. Rooster, of course, is the defending European champion. Plays a very tended to play a very standard game and has added an aggro stance to his game recently that I think has kind of taken him to the next level. And Surrey is famous for a lot of positioning, a lot of positional play, a lot of attacking play, that and just using whatever the weaknesses are in the opponent setup against them in a way that's very unpredictable and very difficult to defend against.
So if we were to try and jump into their minds for a second as we see the teams getting ready, you can see the coaches there busy talking with the players as well. If you, Amaroq, were given somewhere along the lines of 1 to 2 hours to prepare your team to play, a team that you don't know how much you've played before, what would be some of the most important things you'd make sure to tell them right off the bat?
Most important thing to me would be what Rooster stressed about using chaff to protect your units.
And can you explain again what chaff is, just to the viewers out there that might not know?
Sure thing. Chaff are the small units, the crawlers and fangs that are very cheap. They only cost 100 to put a unit of them onto the field, and a unit contains 15 fangs or 21 crawlers. And they go out there and die, right? So if you have a marksman that does 3,000 damage, and it does one shot every 3 seconds, and it hits a fang with 115 hit points or 117 hit points, you've wasted 2,900 hit points worth of damage from that marksman. And it takes 3 more seconds for it to shoot again.
And those 3 seconds, I mean, that's the thing. That's where Mechabellum, because I think a lot of people that watch it for the first time, they just see an onslaught of robots blowing up one another. But you know it from an inside perspective. There are so many micro details. You say 3 seconds, that might even be a big portion of time in a game like that, where a half second, like one extra shot fired on a unit they shouldn't have shot at, could be the deciding factor in whether or not you come out on top.
Exactly.
So do you, I mean, we talk about chaff, we talk about them literally just being the cannon fodder. Are there any other, let's just say terminology, insider knowledge things that you might end up using over the course of the games we're about to see that maybe deserves some explanation for the viewers too?
Sure. If we're going to talk about just general strategy, it'll be talking about the towers. And I think Drewski explained that if you lose the tower, your units are debuffed, they take more damage, they do less damage, they move more slowly for up to 9 seconds. And then, yeah, it's a huge amount of time that your units are just crippled. And if you lose one tower and then the other one, you can get those back to back up to 18 seconds. Even if the 2 towers are taken down simultaneously, you still get the full 18 seconds. So,
okay, so it's not that the damage reduction stacks, it's just that the time prolongs.
The time prolongs, correct.
Okay, and that is definitely a debuff. We've all tried it, for those who played it, where we thought, oh, we're ahead, but then the sneaky crawl is coming in from the back line, gets that tower down moments before you're about to take on the big attack, and then what you thought was an amazing army ends up being being taken down in moments. I must say, I'm looking at Cardiate here, their team. It looks to me like Danny, he's ready. He's jumping around in the chair, he's excited, he's kissing his badge, ready to get the games going.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing to see the guys being so ready for the matches here. Any other hints, Amaroq, that you think these players? I mean, obviously they won't be hearing what you're saying right now. But if you could share just one sentence with them, what would that one last hint right before the game
just more
starts?
for the audience, I would say, the game can be kind of divided into chaff and chaff clear. So what are your units that are going to do area of effect damage and take out a whole bunch of those chaff at once? So those are going to be things like the Arclight and Vulcan that are very good at chaff clear. And I will refer to that as the chaff war.
Okay.
Right? Who won the chaff war?
Yeah.
Whose team had some surviving chaff when the other team's chaff was dead, and now their carry units can start to work on the most important units of my carry units can work on your team's carry units, if that makes sense.
And does the chaff war usually also dictate who ends up becoming the winner of the game?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. So it really is all about chaff, for the most part.
It's really about getting the carry units leveled and up and running, but the chaff war is very important as well.
I love my role here as the guy that tries to take some really, really, really complicated questions and reduce them to a mere sentence, and just feeling Amaroq's face going, Toby, you need to give me like 3 podcasts worth of time in order to explain why chaff is important, because that is the depth of this game. I mean, again, for a new viewer, it might just be robots and explosions, but there's so many levels. It's like playing 5D chess. It's absolutely amazing seeing how these, both the pro players can play, and now for this tournament, how the pro coaches can coach their creators. I think we're just about to go live with this game. Amaroq, any last hints you want to give to the viewers out there before we get the tournament started?
The texts are going to be very important. I'll try to mouse over things and to call them out specifically and kind of ID some of the things that are going on.
And here we go. The game is about to go live, everyone. Let's get this match number 1 started. And now, Amaroq, I'm going to leave the majority of this up to you. You are a well-trained veteran when it comes to these tournaments. And right off the bat, of course, is the specialist pick. Take me through what choices you get and how you have, how you decide.
If we were watching a 1v1, we'd see what the options that the players were. In the 4-player game, we don't get the options. So we've got a marksman specialist with fangs and storms. So both players on this side took Stormcallers. You've got, in fact, all 4 players took Stormcallers. Yep. So everybody started with some artillery. We've got a heavy armor specialist, bottom left, marksman specialist, bottom right. That'll be this level 3 marksman here, in addition to the 5 units that they started with.
Yeah.
The cost control specialist is top left, because it's going to be cheaper, having more economy but weaker units on the board by 13 to 15%. And the aerial specialist over here is with crawlers and stormcallers is going to have a free unlocks and improvements for air units.
Now, we did hear Danny talk about how he'd been coached to prefer those marksmen, especially here in the early game, but how would you say they fare? Obviously, marksmen, a unit that you want to have single target opponents up against, but how is the value of those marksmen in the early game?
It would depend what the starting units from the opponent were. So if opponent had come out with a start that was arclights and sledgehammers, it would be really useful to have the marksman. Over here, we've seen somebody pick up a Phoenix.
Yeah.
So they're going to have air units, and opponent here has absolutely no anti-air. So the only thing on this team, on near side's Blue's ability to take that down is going to be these 3 packs of fangs and this 1 marksman on the outside.
So what we're saying is they better survive, or that round might be over before it even starts. Now we are getting live with match number 1, so let's see how this one pans out. Anything that catches your eye here right as we get started, Amaroq?
So these Phoenix, you can see, I talked about the way that Rat likes to play aggressively. This was an aggro formation with the crawlers up front and the Phoenix. Well defended by this Arclight that took out all of the chaff, so near side won the chaff war, but since there were these Phoenix remaining, they took out the tower. That side's been debuffed, and The Phoenix are going to kind of come down left to right, down the near side.
They're just going to plow through all the towers.
They'll take out these 2 towers in the middle, which are one of the unique features of this compact map is that the team has both of their towers together. And you can, if you lose this middle, it's just devastating. You can have, strategically, you can have a push right up the middle and hit both towers.
And as you talked about, they were relying on the marksman. They were relying on the Fangs as well to take down the Phoenix, but they never got into position to find them. And therefore, the first round of this match goes in favor of Janik and, or I should say, Cute Kids Ooh, I think was the team name over in Team 2 with Proxy and Janik.
I can turn that up a little.
Do we need more volume? Do we need more explosions? More pew pew sounds? We're all for it. I'm not gonna lie, that's a big portion of what got me into this game to begin with, was just the audio design. It feels very, very rewarding when you take out an opponent and you just hear those health bars dropping on the opponent's side. Very, very nicely done by the builders of this game. Now, round number 2.
We had a unit drop here. So the unit drop came to these level 2 Mustangs from these 2 players.
Yeah.
Out here as well. And a Rhino here. The Rhino fits the aggro. The Mustangs will work as both anti-air and chaff clear. And you can see that the response to these Phoenix was a pair of marksmen. So we have 2 marksmen and a Mustang now answering this attack.
And that should suffice, right? Pack of Mustangs and 2 marksmen, yeah.
Yeah, but the Rhino here has 30-something thousand hit points, 33,000 hit points.
Yep.
So that's going to take a while to get through. Marksmen do 2,300 per shot every 3 seconds.
That's going to be a
big
while.
damage dealer over here. So that Rhino is going to be pretty tanky and tough to take down.
Yeah,
Once it gets out in front of the Phoenix, it's going to protect them. So I think this side should still go to the far side team, to the red team.
And that's the tricky part of this game, right? Because we talked to Survey about how he wants you to counter opponents. But keep in mind, while you try to counter the units of last round, those opponents are also setting up new units for the round to come. And now, as they're preparing for these Phoenixes in there, as you said too, this Rhino is plowing straight down the middle.
They did not have enough chaff clear to take out the Mustangs. So once the Rhino went down, the Mustangs take care of the Phoenix.
So they do manage to survive the initial
win that far side.
Yeah.
Have some level 2 crawlers getting some really good work down here. You can see they've gotten into the artillery. Now they're going to get onto what we call Orange Man, the level 3 marksman.
Orange Man, I like the name. I like the name a lot. In the meantime, we're seeing a lot of towers being destroyed here.
The risk of playing the marksman specialist start is that the way that experience is awarded, killing a level 1 unit awards the cost of the unit. So when you kill a marksman, it's 100. It costs 100 to buy it, so it's 100 experience essentially for killing it. The second level 1 was worth 3 times that. A third level 1 is worth 5 times that.
Yeah.
So only double the strength or triple the strength, but it costs triple or 5 times the experience value in terms of what's given away.
A lot of math, a lot of risk management here. Ooh, a lot of them opting to skip rather than try and take some of the techs. Is that do you find yourself more often skipping, at least maybe in the early rounds, than you do purchasing some of the different techs that you can get?
We still have no flanking action. You can see these big flanks that are kind of inviting. One of the ways to handle an aggro player like this is to, they're all in front of their towers, so you could set something back here and have a clean run on that tower. Whereas if somebody tried to put, like, say, a pack of crawlers here and bring them up, they just run right into this Mustang. That Mustang's in a good defensive position.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, always got to keep those flanks in mind.
One of the things I expect from Cartman's here would be a flank attack out on that side.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot to defend it down the back line. The amount of times I've lost a game where I thought, ha, now I have him, and then you accidentally scroll backwards and you go, oh wait, they have an entire army behind me now. That's not that's not what you want to have happen. In the game that we played too, I got surprised by a couple of overlords that entered our back lines too. Now, if Amaroq, we've talked about units and how units counter one another, and I feel like that's the entry level to understanding Mechabellum and the depths there is to understand in this game. First, understand what the units do, understand what the units are good against. But once you pass that level, where would you go? Like, are you looking at techs instantly, or is it formations, or where do you take it?
I'm sorry, Toby. I'm going to need you to run for a moment.
Okay, I'm gonna run for a moment as we see the onslaught of Stormcallers try to take out the chaff in front. And usually you'd like the crawlers against the Stormcallers, mainly because they tend to move so fast that they can actually get past the area that the barrages from these artillery guns come in with. But as you can see there, they were fighting one another. So all the chaff on the right side, at least, pretty much taken out instantly, as now these Stormcallers start fighting one another. Towers down on the top right side, as the left side will start to fall now as well. And this one looks like it could be pretty much done over and instantly, and indeed it is. It's once again the Coordinates that come out victorious and now find themselves just around 2,000 points ahead.
Yeah, that is a huge round win for them. And the round damage is done by the amount of surviving units you have. So they just had so many units survive. That was really huge for them.
Once again, seeing the skips coming through here. Danny 8 ups the skip as well. Ooh, some wasp swarms to potentially be thrown behind enemy lines.
Yep, this is perfect. So, remember how I was talking about there being the potential for a flank? They're going to do it with a call-in instead. It's fine. This is just a temporary only for this round, and then it'll come back up again on round 8. So 3 rounds later.
So opting to go for even more Mustangs now on the left side there. I do like Mustangs a lot, but I feel like they also need those tanky units in order to really come in to fruition. And speaking of tanky units, there's a double fortress on the other side.
Yeah, there are those tanks you're talking about. These are very good against Mustangs especially. We'll throw up I imagine we're going to see barriers thrown up, and the Mustangs will be completely shut down by the barriers.
Now, is there a rule of thumb in terms of do you upgrade tech or do you upgrade units? Do you usually say a unit should be level X before you opt to go into the tech, or is it very situational like with everything else in the game?
That's a great question. I would say techs are probably more important for most units.
Okay, and there came the bubbles.
This has been plus 40,000 hit points. So that was essentially leveling up in terms of the total hit points. That would be leveling up every fort on the board.
And that's just damage denied. Oh, and there comes the Wasps in from behind. Look at that, the first tower already down, and that's going to slow down that left side push by quite a margin. Yes, those hits are coming through, but as you said, coming into the show, for those 9 seconds where the tower is, or after the tower falls down, that's a lot of damage mitigated.
Yeah. And that was, all that damage went through on that one fort because those barriers were down. The barriers don't take additional damage due to the tower debuff. Only the units, but since the defenders got the barriers down quickly, then the units went down as well.
Yet another heavy hit on the side of Proxyfox and Janik. Look at the damage coming through, the boom, boom, booms coming in, and once again, over 2,000 damage done in a single round.
So we are on knockout territory at this point. If they take that much damage again, they're out.
Yep.
So that'll be game 1 of 3. We're doing a best of 3 today.
Definitely a tough start here.
These front-mounted forts are actually very vulnerable to a melting point. And we know Cartman's was talking about enjoying the melting point.
There's Scorpions that are going to come in from both of them. And Scorpions, what do you consider them the best against?
Scorpions are basically a large splash, large damage at a very slow rate of fire. You get a war factory. So this is the biggest unit in the game. The production ability, so it can produce other units. In this case, it could produce Steel Balls or Phoenix. It's also got just a huge boatload of hit points.
So do you...
220,000 hit points, does about 6,000 damage per shot, but most importantly, it's going to be 600 hit points damage if it survives.
So there is a decision to be made, right? Because I feel like with a lot of the units, they're very multi-purpose. Here you have a war factory that could tank, which would be great, but that also means it dies earlier, meaning it won't be able to produce the amount of units you could if you had it on your backline. Where do you prefer to play your war factories?
The top War Factory players are playing them in a battle role rather than a production role. When they first came out, the production was a little bit stronger, and I think the production was very valuable over time. Right now, I think they're balanced more in a role where they're valuable as an individual fighter.
Yeah, I'm getting instant Phantom Menace Star Wars vibes.
They
with
do
all
have
the bubbles
Scorpion,
that we're
which
seeing
can
now.
counter War Factory, but I think we'll be fine for now.
Oh, we're having a stage interview?
No.
Next turn,
Yeah.
we sell the other Scorpion and we put the
Yep.
second War Factory.
Okay, well, let's see if there is going to be another round to come at all, or if this War Factory is going to be the downfall of Team Cute Kittens Uwu. As yet again, once another big unit falls, but the double takedown on the melting points on the right side can maybe change some things here. Where do you see this one going, Amaroq?
This one's going to far side, I believe. I think they've got this covered. As long as the level 3 Mustangs here go down, these guys, and it looks like they're going to go down to the artillery. Maybe not. We don't have enough damage left to take down the War Factory.
Nope.
This big, beefy tank survives the round, does the 600 damage. It's got a couple of artillery behind it that were helping it clear things out. So
we are getting into scary territory here for Janik and for Proxy Fox. They won the initial round, but that's another thing. Of course, we all know it if we've played the game. This game is a marathon, not a sprint. You can lose the first couple of rounds, but if you can turn it around, there's a great win to be had after.
And that's actually something that's really neat about the game, I think, is a lot of the builds are, you can kind of think of some things as tempo builds. I'm trying to win this game quickly. You can think of some as very slow, like this is going to ramp up once I've got levels and techs on my units. But if somebody tries to knock me out early, then it's going to be painful. And you can even see things that go one way and then the second way and then a third way.
Yeah.
So like one team is winning, the second team will dominate the middle section of the game, and then the third player's build really comes online.
And we saw
like, now I
Danny.
can just knock you out. Boom.
We look at the difference in coaching styles as well. Rooster PB very much active, walking around, looking at the different monitors, pointing things. Danny 8 trying to, as you can see, like his eyes darting all over the screen as the explanations come through here. In the meantime, over on the other side, we have a more laid-back approach here. Some explaining, so maybe more confidence in them being able to just do what they got to do to come up victorious. But having said that, Janik and Proxy Fox, they are down to under 1,000 health. So things need to change. And right now, it seems like they're doubling down on those fortresses, granting them the win.
Right, and I think the melting points do a really good job against them. Picked up electromagnetic barrage,
Yeah.
which does missile damage to shields. So you're going to see it. Battle is going to start with a big volley of missiles that come out and
Let's see, there they go. First initial
Right
2
there.
comes through and
Boom.
it's already down.
yeah, that one shield is already down. But they used crawlers very well. This is something Rat does very well. And used crawlers to draw the other 2 volleys, so they didn't actually hit shields. Now the second volley of those has brought down most of the shields.
This is another thing that's so interesting, so impressive about this type of game, the auto battle genre in general, is now you've set up your troops, you've prepared everything as best as you can, and now you just lean back. You watch, you try and understand as much as you possibly can from one round to another, to then try and improve to the rounds to come. But it seems like the turnaround is finally here.
This is about how the last round felt, right? They won on this side, lost on this side. And this is actually one of the interesting things about the 2v2. I personally like the 2v2 the best. I know a lot of the top players prefer the 1v1 right now because they feel like that's the most strategic, etc. I really love the 2v2, and part of the reason is that you'll get these builds where there's a catty corner near this player wins their side, this player wins their side, and then you have to fight and beat each other's surviving units.
Yeah.
And what's happening is they're each getting experience from this fight, even if no matter who wins or loses it. And it looks like this might be the end of our battle here.
Unless if they take down at least one of the war factories, it looks to be the default.
This would be another 300. So this is game
Definitely
GG,
is.
well
That
played.
is going to be game number 1 in favor for Cardi8. Everyone give it up for your round 1 winners. Now keep in mind, of course, this is a best of 3. It's only 1-0, but now there's going to be a quick second for these players to talk with their coaches and figure out, for Cardi8, what do we do right? How can we improve on it in the round to come? And on the other side, for the cute kittens, they have to figure out, how do we come back from that?
So here's our battlefield. After a fight, you can take a good look at a field of battle and kind of think through what happened. One of the ways you can do that is to click on a unit and see how much damage it did. So this new melting point did 76,000 damage, mostly against this War Factory. But you can see this War Factory is 440,000 damage. So this was the best damage dealing unit on Janix's team. Janix's side, but still wasn't enough to take down the level 2 War Factory.
They are expensive for a reason.
Additional. One of the ways they could have done that and didn't is by using these scorpions to place acid on the field.
Oh.
So the acid does an additional 250% damage for units that are stuck in acid while they are attacked. So if they had managed to drop some acid right out in front of this thing, so it runs into it, and then this guy would have done about 3.5 times as much damage as it did, and that might have made the difference. So if you're a new player to this game and somebody slaps down War Factories, the answer that I want you to have in mind is, I'm going to use a Scorpion, I'm going to use some acid, I'm going to get that thing stuck in the acid, and then let the rest of my army deal with it.
Well, let's hope for the guys that is going to be their strategy of choice as well, depending, of course, on whether or not we'll see Cardi8 come out with a similar strategy coming into round number 2. There is going to be a little bit of a break here as the guys get ready, get themselves something to drink. As you can see, the right team have already left the stage. They're already up 1-0, so they get to walk out, enjoy their win in the initial first round, while we see Proxy Fox and Janek full-on focused with their coach getting ready for round number 2. We're back on camera. Hi, Toby here, joined by Amaroq81, the expert of everything that is Mechabellum. Such a joy to have you here, Amaroq, and hearing some of the insights of what it takes to be a great Mechabellum player.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I wouldn't say I'm one of the greats.
out there.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Dreamhack Summer 2024 Mechabellum Showdown Creator Tournament. We are on here for yet another round of this 2v2, which round 1 saw going over to Cardiate, or Team 1, whatever you want to call them, Cartmans and Daniate. And I'm joined by Amaroq, once again, our beloved expert of the game here, ready to break down all the action that we are about to see. But before we hop into round number 2, Amaroq, take me through round 1. What were some of the things you saw there, some of the things you liked, maybe didn't like so much?
I'd say that one of the things I liked was even though it didn't pay out for them, was the initial aggro on that far side. We saw it was really well answered, and in my opinion, doing aggro well is one of the more difficult things to do in the game, and defending it well is one of the marks of a really good player. So you have kind of a opportunity to show off skill or whatever when you're defending aggro. I think it's really rewarding. For me personally, it's one of the spots where you're like, okay, I feel like I got this. I did this really well. Aggro, when it comes out, is especially under the guidance of somebody as good as Rat or as good as Suri is just tremendous. It can be really powerful, and it was very well defended. It was stopped cold. And then one of the things I liked from the near side, from Team Cartier, was going for the knockout.
Yep.
So we saw when they brought out those war factories, they were really thinking about the 600 hit point damage that it was going to deal at the end of the round. That was part of the point of bringing those units out. So I'm going to have something large that survives that does a whole lot of hit point damage. There are builds that relatively new players tend to enjoy, which are the Arclight carry and the Marksman carry. Mm-hmm. But the Arclight and the Marksman each only do 100 hit points of damage, and so you can wind up with I had my 8 Arclights survive, and they did 800 damage. Doesn't matter that they're all level 6 or whatever, and they're doing tremendous amounts of damage. You're still only slowly whittling away the enemy units, and you're giving them a lot of time to come up with a counter and an answer to what you're doing. And Team Cartier did not allow that to happen. They just went straight for the War Factory. We're going to go for the Jugular. We're going to knock them out. Done.
And they did indeed manage to knock them out. Now, of course, in a game of Mechabellum, there are a ton of different ways you can go about playing. But of course, we know it. There's a lot of units to pick and choose between. The question then becomes, do you prefer to go out and have a big variety of units on your battlefield? Or do you say, no, stick to the same and then upgrade them, rather than spending money on having a massive board on the field that then might not be as strong individually?
So this is actually really funny. I had a really good coaching session after my most recent play stream, where my coach just kind of sat down and said, hey, there was a spot in the middle of your play where you lost a couple, and I could see what was happening was you were trying to pivot from unit to unit to unit, so you wound up in 6 different units that each had 1 tech. And if we think about the roles that units have in this game, there's chaff, there's chaff clear, there's tank, and there's single target damage. You want your single target damage taking out your tanks, opponent's tanks. You want your chaff clear taking out opponent's chaff.
It's like
right?
4D rock,
if you
paper,
can build
scissors.
a comp that has those 4 units, you don't really need anything else. So he's pointing out that I had 6 units with 1 tech each, rather than having 4 units that one each handles each of those roles and might have had 2 or 3 techs on them. And so it's a really good question, right? Like, it was a mistake that I just made recently, and it happens to be fresh on my mind. So
it's always great to see, as a new arrival to the game, that we can see even the best, even some of the guys in the top are able to make some mistakes. Although they might be small, we've seen it now in this tournament as well already. Small mistakes can be the deciding factor in whether or not you come out on top or not. And it can literally just be you putting your unit one spot further forward, further to the side. That means, oh, well, now it's not targeting that unit you really wanted it to, and all of a sudden it becomes completely worthless.
right, 10 meters or 1 square in this game is a big deal.
Definitely
And
is.
your positioning is very, very important. So
Now, there are, of
Completely
course,
agree.
a couple of select units that you can maneuver around depending on the tech, depending on the various specialty upgrades you give to them. But something we talked about in that match one as well, we didn't really see a whole lot of the players up to go for the flanks. Is that something that you imagine maybe the coaches will say, hey guys, now we know how to control the center battlefield, let's try and flex it out a bit more?
I'm not sure, actually. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more flanking or a little bit more cross-court, what I would say, having units intentionally engaging your partner's opponent's units down the middle. One of the things you can do there is use a mobile beacon. So one of the very few things that you can do to control the movement of your units is a mobile beacon call-in, essentially, that you can buy off of one of your towers. It costs 100, but then it allows you to pick one small circle on the map and give it 2 movement orders. So you can do kind of a dog leg. And you can use that to dodge around the unit that perfectly countered your unit, or to send something from my side over to my partner's opponent's side, if that's a better spot for it. So expect to see a little bit more of that. That's a piece that Rat uses very, very well.
Yeah.
So I'd expect to see that perhaps from the red team.
We're hearing the sound, we're hearing the go sound. We are getting ready for round number 2. So far, the score is 1-0. On the other side, I believe Cartmans and Danny are the ones up ahead 1-0 so far, so we'll maybe have to change that graphic. But outside of that, getting ready here for round number 2.
Let's see what they pick for initial starting units. We have that Orange Man again with Arclight for Chaff Clear and Phoenix. Crawler Phoenix with a Rhino Specialist. The Rhino Specialist will be a Rhino on round 4. A level 2 Rhino on round 4. Cost Control we saw before. Those are those weaker units. But over time, they should have an economic advantage that's going to let them have more techs. And our final player took a Giant Specialist, which we didn't get to see in the first game, but they basically get free unlocks for all of the Giants. This is one of the ways you can bring out a Giant on round 2, or even 2 Giants on round 3, depending on your economy.
We'll see if they manage to catch perhaps Cartmans and Danny 8 by surprise with a massive unit right out of round number 2. But before that, it looks a lot similar to what we saw in the beginning of the previous round, which was the one round that J-Nick and Proxyfox actually managed to win.
Right, but there's a big difference in this round, which is last game we had all 4 players start with Stormcallers. This game we've had 3 players start with Phoenix instead. There's only 1 player who started with Storms.
True.
So no artillery except for right over here. And artillery can be very strong. Unfortunately, they're much better against Fangs than they are against Crawlers. So if they'd gotten a little bit luckier, an opponent had a Fang start instead of a Crawler start, these Storms would be doing a lot better.
We're seeing the players getting ready, everyone on stage ready for the battle to come. Of course, it is a best of 3, so should this round go over to Cardiet, to Cartman's Danny, they will be the victors of this Creator Show match. But let's hope for it, that it goes the other way. That will take us all the way to match number 3. Always great to see these players not only play phenomenally, but also evolve over the course of a tournament like this as we head on into round number 1.
We got a strong overload from defensively on the left. If you see, they took the 2 Arclights out there and put their Orange Man out there and put Phoenix out there. So Team Cartier alert to the possibility that they were going to get that attack again.
Definitely a good response to it as well. Now the Phoenix is flying on forward, taking the battle to the Storm Colors. And it seems like there's not really much of a response, and obviously they can't shoot air targets, so it's easily dealt with.
Yeah, those Stormcallers had a bad day shooting Crawlers because the Crawlers move faster. The Stormcaller volley arcs over, the Crawler runs under it, the Stormcaller fires, doesn't calculate how to lead a moving unit, so it shoots it where the Crawler was. The Crawler runs out from that spot, and the Stormcaller volley lands on empty space. So Crawlers are the counter to a Stormcaller in many ways.
Oh, and we talked about the timings. We talked about timings of those turrets or towers being taken down, and you see it there. Just as they swung the corner, just as they took him out, they came in fresh from the northern side, and now this one is as clean as can be. Just 1 unit left, and that is the first round going in favor, once again, of Cartmans and Danny. An important thing to mention as well, though, I feel like, and you can go more into depth with this Amaroq, is that when you pick your initial specialists, it also comes with a varied amount of health.
That is true, and it can be very important in terms of, we were talking about tempo play, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to point something out. You mentioned that flanks were underutilized in the last game. We've had Strike Specialist offered, so that will have the summoning time that it takes to come in on a flank. We're also seeing a tech already, so being able to, as cost control, we talked about that being something you can afford to put some, you can afford to buy techs a lot earlier than somebody else.
Yeah.
So we've got a teched unit already on the flank down here.
That looks
so
scary.
That's going to be, I think, very strong for Janik.
Now, will they be enough to take down the 2 Phoenixes, though? They're ready and waiting for them.
Well, what's going to happen here is they should draw a bunch of this out this direction, allowing the main force to do damage and get through to the tower. And this is something they didn't do last game to kind of control the, let's say, control the engagement of these units. You can see they've all turned off to the side, even these crawlers. So now there's no chaff protecting the key units from that attack.
So they are pretty much down before they even got spawned in. Next round they'll be there a bit faster, but as you said, that just means that they're delayed in joining the army on the other side.
Right. It was much more about ensuring that they took out these the arc lights, etc., to get that. On the right, we've seen some Stormcallers added. That's a good answer to the Fang and Storms from the other side. So it looks like Team Cartier are going to win both left and right.
Sat back there watching, trying to figure out what the plan is going to be for the round to come. As turrets are taken down early on. Phoenix is once again, like we saw in the previous round, coming out victorious. And that's yet another one. A great hit for Cartmans and Danny. Now, we didn't see the round 2 Giants, as we said, yes, they're possible, but not necessarily. But now, with Cartmans, which, he said he liked the melting points, they melt his heart, might be joined, though, by a Rhino on the other side.
It's a perfect counter, though. But unfortunately for Janik, the Rhino is perfectly countered by the melting point there.
Well, it's all going to come down to positioning. Then we'll see if those 2 units even get to square off against one another or not. We'll see where they up to place them. Personally, I've had a period where I really liked flanking with Rhinos. I have no clue whether from a competitive aspect it's the right thing to do. But at my level of play, it has granted me a lot of success. Because usually they have the weaker units there to try and fend off. And the Rhino tends to just run straight through those.
I'd say that's actually a really good strategy that you're going to be able to push up in MMR with for a while before you run into players that are able to defend against that.
Before you run into players that actually know what they're doing.
Well, it's one of the things I've actually loved about the game is that I found personally that I had huge plateaus at different levels of the game.
Yeah.
And the difference getting from... Well, for example, I got stuck at about 750 MMR for a while. And to get past that, I had to rethink some of the things I thought I'd learned and kind of reconceptualize some of the things I was thinking about. And that got me another 200 MMR. But breaking over 1,000 was another milestone that took a whole second rethink of my approach, a re-understanding of the game. And then again... That happened again to me at 1150 or so, and again at 1300. So I thought that was really neat in terms of just showing the amount of depth in the game. I've had 4 completely different understandings of the game.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a 5th waiting somewhere to be found. And a 6th and a 7th.
And that would be the difference between me and a rat or a rooster. I have not yet made that.
Well, we'll see now here. As the Rhino was taken down eventually, but I feel like it did its fair share of damage before that came to be. This is looking like a tricky battle from the north side team as just a couple of Phoenixes are left in the air.
A lot of 2v2 matches turn into this long match, long walk to each other, because you wind up with this: I won my side, you won your side, and we need to meet each other in the middle.
Yeah.
The normal map, which we're not on, has a much longer walk in it.
You skip
get
here.
this kind of slower engagements.
We're hearing some insights there from the team.
Not the mobile beacon, maybe?
Enhancement modules are really interesting. When some of the top level players call this stonks. Yeah, because basically you can promote a unit for free and then sell it. You can sell it for the value of the promoted unit rather than the original unit. So you place this on this melting point, level it up to level 2, sell the melting point, you get 600 back, and you've only spent 400 to do it, and then you get the enhancement module to place on something else. So
But where do I put the fangs?
You can see
play we might have seen.
Can hear the discussions on
like near
stage.
the border, so they are faster
Coaching,
in the
live
towers.
coaching coming in with the survey,
you can
trying to make sure that
take
JNX
the
units are
temporary
positioned
speed.
exactly where they have to be.
From the tower.
Yeah.
So we've picked up more
And then
fangs
next
and a
turn,
second tech
wherever
on the
there's
fangs.
Mustangs, you need to block the Mustang damage with the Rhino.
Ooh, the Rhino has been placed down on the flank, as we see furthest down in the bottom left of your screen. He is there joining the party on the other side, and a counter on the other side too.
Yep, way opposite corners. Each have a Rhino on them.
We'll see who gets to the towers first, because I do feel like that's their purpose. Not so much to fight through the units, but more just get to the tower fast and then get that very early debuff to your opponents before that big battle in the center of the map takes place.
I think this is pretty undefended. There's not much out there.
Yeah.
So once it's paid this summoning sickness, I think it should have a very easy run.
We'll see.
It's a level 2 Rhino, so there's nothing out there that's actually going to stop it.
A couple of Mustangs ain't gonna defend what needs to be defended when it comes running on through, as now these 4 melting points might be able to do some damage as well. One more Rhino falls as yet again Janik and Proxy Foxy's army there. I mean, it seems like they're more focused this time around on smaller units to try and make their way on through, but it's they're losing quite a few of them.
The Fangs have done really well out here for small units. It's one of my favorite builds for a while was this what we call Fang carry, where you wind up, you know, hey, they're a chaff unit. They're not the big carry unit, but if you can get all 4 techs on them and have as many of them as JNIC has, it can be a lot of fun.
We'll see. There's still a Rhino and 2 melting points to be taken down. Does these small Fangs have it in them to take them out? It seems like it's not going to happen. Now just a couple left alive, and indeed, they will fall once again. Yet again, another win for Cartmans and Danny. But I would say despite the 800 damage coming through from the melting points, it seemed like they're slowly kind of catching back to what they're currently up against.
We would say stabilizing, yes. And they need to stabilize quickly.
Oh, yeah. Definitely do. Now, portable shields being selected quickly by both Cartmans and Danny. Do you imagine them being instantly put down on those melting points?
Yeah, that will basically double the hit points of those melting points. You can also use it to place on a unit like the Rhino, or even if you put it on something as simple as an arc light that might get one shot or might get completely killed by something. The shield at least blocks the first shot that would have killed it. So it takes two shots to finish it off.
Well,
it's sold out of this flanking Rhino that got the tower, kind of expecting it to get countered, and moved the enhancement module over to the melting point that we talked about, maybe enhancing and selling.
seems like Proxy Fox is going all in as well with the big War Factory coming in. We saw how much damage and how it really became the winning factor in that previous round. Maybe hoping now, Proxy Fox that this is going to do the same for her.
It looks like, and has range on it as well, so it's up to 150 meter range. So it's almost the same range as these melting points, which have 155 meters. So the real question here for this engagement will be who gets their engagement first, who locks onto the other side's giants first.
Is there one that you would say counters the other? Because melting points are known to be the ones that you put up against those big targets. So
yeah, melting point is a good answer to the big target. The big target can win if it gets if you're winning the chaff war, right? Because as long as the melters are sitting there shooting at, fangs and colors, be fine.
And that's what we're talking about when we talk about chaff. Talk about all those cheap units. You want to have them in there and kind of divert the attention from the really important targets, the big ones that you want to do all the damage.
Right, but Roxy Fox does not have enough late arriving chaff, I think. So one of the things that you could consider doing as this player is having some fangs on the back line that are actually intended to just arrive at that section of the game and distract those melting points for a little while longer.
Now, it has been battles won on both sides here, but a tough loss with the Fortress going down there as well. Now, the final battle potentially of this one here, and 2,000 might be too far to get down in one round, but seems like this Fortress is in for a very tall task, and there he falls.
So that's going to be about 1,800. Just not enough.
200 still in it. Janik and Proxyfox, now is the time to turn the tide here, because if you don't, you're going to be down and out.
Yeah, it's all calculated. They had that down to a T.
Nukes. Instantly we go for the nukes. And of course the nukes, they do take longer to arrive, but explain to me more the value of this unit. Or this...
It's a huge damage of 70,000, right? So we talked about the portable shield. One of the values of the portable shield is it will eat this. As long as this guy has a point of portable shield remaining, the shield will take the nuke instead of the main unit. Same with these barriers. As long as those barriers are still standing, then the forts are going to be fine. You could also protect the fangs by giving them portable shield. So the nuke lands. The portable shield is only 101 hit points, but it takes 2 shots to block the nuke. To kill the unit.
Fully denies one. Well, you can see them being placed all around the map. Now, keep in mind again, if you're opting to use these as well when you're playing, it does take 15 seconds. So don't place it where the unit is as the round starts. Place it where you expect the unit that you want to take out to be by the time 15 seconds have passed. That's why we're seeing some of these players placing them a little further in front of where they're initially positioned.
And that's one of the skills in the game, in my opinion, is knowing some of these call-ins and just as you're observing rounds, kind of seeing where you would put a nuke or an ion beam. Because, like, hey, this is where the unit is at the time that would land, rather than where it is at the start of the round.
We are a couple of seconds away from big fireworks. Let's see what's going to happen, what's going to fall. Maybe 3 crawlers at one, or 3 melting points on one side, and both. Oh no, unlucky. There we go.
That was really unlucky.
Did we just take down the entire screen? I think we did. We took down the whole broadcast with those explosions. Oh my lord. Everything just blew up.
Yeah, but Janik's far side shield barrier on that fort went down about half a second before that nuke landed. That was so painful. So close to turning this round around.
Yeah, that is.
But here's the value of the war factories.
True. More units.
70,000 damage. 70,000 damage. Sure, you scratched my paint.
And more units now to be produced. More units they'll need as these melting points are getting ever so much closer. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy. These war factories are what could win them the game, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be enough.
It is not. Congratulations.
And there we have it.
GG.
There we have it. Cartman Stanley 2-0 will be the champions of the Dreamhack Summer Mechabellum show match here in the 2v2 format. Congratulations, points. What a great round. What a great win with the nukes there in the end, Amaroq.
That was a lot of fun. Congratulations, guys. Well done. Well deserved.
Now take it on from here. I will hop to the desk. I'll let you break down that final fight for just a moment there.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was the importance of that one barrier coming down was I'm not sure that the audience was going to be able to see that as it developed, but I could just sense it in my brain. Like, here's 13, 14, barrier came down, nuke lands. Like, oh no. I do think the players with a whole bunch of fangs, J-Nick and Seb, or Roxy Foxy, could have had shield barriers on their fangs and had a whole lot of those fangs survive that nuke as well. So that was one possibility. I think we're going to take it up to the stage. Not yet. Okay. Let's take a look at the map. If anybody is got it. So one of the reasons those barriers went down was the last round tech from Cartman's took this EMP barrage that we talked about last time, and that EMP barrage does damage to the shields, so that helped a lot. Also, the fact that the fangs have range, so they were standing in the barrier the whole time, meant that when a melting point locked onto this grouping, even if it's targeting a single fang that would normally have 101 hit points, it actually targets the barrier and sits on the barrier does the full 40,000 damage to the barrier, and then does its 101 points to the fangs. So one of the ways you can prevent that as a player is to have some crawlers run through, so that the melting point locks onto the crawler steps out of the barrier. All right. They did the same thing on the far side. Not that there were as many barriers on that side, so we had the EMP barrage as well, and that also turned out to be critical. In the very end of this match, let's take a look at the towers. So you can see they had rapid resupply. So they took a loan. So both players on the near side, they were like, look, they're at 200 hit points. We're going to take 200 extra credits. It's minus 300 next round, so you're minus 100 overall. But if you're within 2 rounds of knocking somebody out, if I loan this round, I'm plus 200. If I loan again next round, I'm still plus 100. And if I have to do it again the round after that, I'm still at plus 0, right? So you can go 3 rounds in a row and loan your way to victory. And one of the things they were using that for was this temporary range. And that made a huge difference with the melting points having 170 meter range. Now outranging the war factories by an extra 20 meters. And then the EMP barrage also turns off technology. As soon as it hit the war factory, it turned off the extra 40 meter range and dropped it to 110 meters. And that's why that last fight went so heavily for the melting points. All right, up to Toby.
What a finish to a phenomenal show match here at Dreamhack. I promised you guys robots, I promised you explosions, and I think with that last round, you got every little bit that you wanted. Now, without further ado, let's bring on team number 2, the cute kittens, because we want to hear from them, even though they didn't win. We want to hear their thoughts on the match. Come on over, Proxy Fox, come on over, J-Nick, and let's give a round of applause for our second place team. It was tough. It was a tough competition. A few words on how you guys played and how it all went, Proxy?
Well, this was like my first experience with the game. And now I am traumatized. So that's pretty good.
So traumatized in a way that you will, of course, hurry home and play the game a lot more to get even better, obviously. Now I want to hear from you. How did things plan out according to the few moments you had to plan? Was it quickly a change of strategy, or did you manage to stick to the same strategy all the way through?
Well, I said before we started this tournament that if we lose, it's on the coach. So I'm just going to throw him under the bus real quick, and yeah.
Fair enough. Never take the blame. Just throw it on the coach stood over there on the other side. But let's hear it now from J-Nick as well. We'll have you guys rotate spots for a second. J-Nick, you said you just wanted it to be fair. You said you wanted a good game. How did the game go according to your expectations?
I mean, they were basically begging me that I would let them win. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking enough W's as it is. I can handle like a single L here and there. So it's honestly Gucci. I'm good with it. I thought it was fun. So good experience.
And were there any moments during the game where you thought now is the time to change strategy? Were like some, even though we're all newer to the game, except for obviously the experts that we have with us, were there moments where you felt, now I get it, now the strategy makes perfect sense to me?
Well, when I started winning every round, I was like, this probably works pretty well. On the other hand, when I lost every round on the first game, I thought maybe I should change something. So we changed something, and then I won. But Proxy did the opposite thing. She was like, no, I won a bunch, so let me just lose every single round. But honestly, like, either way, it was fun, nice game, and we get medals.
There you
so,
go.
Yeah,
Yep, medals. Let's get a quick word in from the coach as well before we let you guys hop on out. Tricky, of course, only so much time to talk with the team, but how did they fare? Even though they didn't win, how did they fare compared to your expectations?
They played really well. It was kind of hard task to coach on the spot, like see 2 monitors at once, but they played really well.
And for you as a coach, what were some of the biggest challenges you think in this tournament?
Their play or my coach?
Well, I mean, she threw you under the bus. You can do the other way around now as well. No, just in general. I mean, obviously you're a very experienced player, but now as you said, having to coach as well. How is that different from being the player yourself?
Yeah, well, there's like a limited amount of time on the round, and you need to see 2 screens at once and talk to 2 people. It's really hard to like dictate the game, so really difficult.
Really difficult indeed. That is what this game is as well. But once again, let's hear it for team number 2, for our cute kittens, Uwu, for phenomenal performance here at the 2v2 showdown. You guys may exit on your right. And with that, I will bring on everyone. Make a round of applause for our winners, Team Cartier. Congratulations, congratulations. What an explosive finish to an absolutely insane game. Huge win for you. Tell me just quickly, how does it feel?
Absolutely fantastic. Even though they were talking about some mental warfare, like in the previous games and stuff, I really felt like it wasn't truly on point, which I just fueled it up so much, and I felt that this win was gonna go absolutely glorious, and I'm so happy about it.
And did you win the game in the fashion that you hoped to do?
Especially like with the bang. Things go boom, as I said, and it really did. 4 nukes at the end, and I'm so stoked about the end game. It was so much fun.
It was absolutely incredible. Congratulations so much for what was a phenomenal game. Now, one last question. Were there any point in the tournament, we talked about how much in-depth strategy there is to be good at this game. Did you feel it? Like, did you really get to use a lot of different strats throughout this tournament?
Maybe not too much during the tournament, considering it's only 2 games. I think that if we got like a really big bracket game and stuff, like a really big tournament, which is also going on in the meantime during the people that are on the LAN currently, I really do think and believe that that would be even more fun. But considering like on this scale, I think there is so much more to be made during this game and everything as well. But I cannot lie, I had one of the most amazing coaches that helped us through everything and really talked us through what we should do, when we should do it, and why we should do it. And it felt so good, both having the previous games or the pretty much like the preview of the game and everything like in the forehand. So I feel we really got good, you know. I don't know.
There you go. It's good. I love it. I love it. A lot of good vibes. A lot of good shout outs to the coach as well. Now let's hear from Cartman's as well. Again, congratulations on a solid performance from start to finish. Now, again, did everything go according to your plan, or were you just having to do what maybe what Danny 8 forced you to? He seemed like he was the one going crazy with everything, and you were more calm in your play style.
I would say he's the calm one, but I don't know. Now, I mean, did it went as we wanted to? I mean, we won. So, yeah, I mean, of course it went as we wanted to. Yeah, but it was super fun. Rooster, what an amazing guy. What an amazing coach. He really helped us out. Yeah.
There you go. And did you feel like you got to play some of the play styles you prefer that you've maybe played coming into it in this tournament as well? Because we saw quite a few melting points. There was some good stuff in there.
Yeah, I told you, big boy. In the beginning, melting point melted my heart, and in the end, it was the melting point who just finished the entire game. So
Definitely was. Congratulations again on a phenomenal performance. And now lastly, of course, let's hear from the coach, the main man of the tournament, Rooster. Congratulations to you and the team. It sounds like these guys were very, very pleased with how you fared this tournament. But tell me, now that you get to talk about them, how did they play according to your expectations?
I mean, they exceeded every single one. I have to say that the energy these two guys bring, it's electric, it's contagious. It just sets like the right environment for success, and I was really impressed with some of their moves. They were buying units before I had even told them to. They were positioning them where I wanted them to position without me telling so. It was great. Yeah.
There was definitely a difference in coaching style from when we were looking at you guys over to your opponent's team, where you were much hands-on, up there by the monitor, pointing at different things, talking to them, and on the other side it was more laid-back, more conversational than it was more actively on. How for you, being a very experienced player, did it feel being on the coaching side of things here in this tournament?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I loved this opportunity, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. The style of coaching, I think I was a bit more hands-on and really involved this time because we had such a short period of time, and of course we wanted to win. But I think that the conversational style is also very good, especially if you have a bit more time to get a deeper understanding of the game and also get those players to, become the new pros.
Well, with that, once again, congratulations so much to the three of you. Everyone, a big round of applause for our victors as you will be presented here with the trophy, the winning trophy for this tournament. Again, a massive round of applause. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to this tournament. Phenomenal from start to finish. Again, we promised it robots, explosions, and a hell of a lot of tactical play, and we saw all of it. Make sure that you tune in later tonight where we have the 1v1 finals of the teams that are currently playing the qualifiers